Wethersfield Board of Education, Wethersfield, Connecticut, and Town Council. There are more people I've recorded tied years apart. Child abusers, leaders of kids, first forced, including the principal being the upskirt nature. I recorded him with more digital crimes, with the police forms and multiple police departments, with a Colwell house near me and a Smith family. And past neighbors also, they forced checked her and then persuaded them to roles with these families with a whole bunch of other people like a Chris Walters, who also has roles with the intelligence community, with his family, and people with whiting forensics, increasingly at different spots in Old Wethersfield, also with John DeMorrow is involved with retired mayors, like a Gold family, and one near the Board of Education. Further involved with sexual and medical crimes of foreign and domestic private families who are also personally and professionally criminally involved with judges and prosecutors. And then further on off the state judicial branch offices and conjunctions to it. And then further on off the state corrections offices and conjunctions to it with the same house slash S with wire crimes of the police forging and switching names. They pretended I went down to the police station and had a conversation with them when I was a kid to cover up their life progressions. And then when I was an adult, they stole my conversation, a word I had to one of the people. They forced the collusions with them interstates and intercities and intercampuses as the Saudis with the World Trade Center attack. But they also forced the Saudi attackers and all that, forced the Saudis use remotely too. That's how they forced the Saudis, one of the ways, because these are the ones involved with Scalora, too, interstates and intercities. Wethersfield police are forging and switching names. They make confessions about this on my street. A guy forced himself through my door, an officer, and made a confession about it. And gave me a card. And I had the lie now. I don't even know who he is. I don't have that card. I'm not going to take his card or his word. He forced himself through my door. And he better not pretend that I say anything with him. No, let's get to what he was talking about on paper. The police said that they're in the process of confessing how they stack changing and faking what actually goes down at locations as their roles with organized crimes. And with all the countries in the news, there are people from Hartford Hospital recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed. They have a family with state police with in Middletown, also involved with New Britain, involved on Griswold Street with a former Mayor Gold, a whole bunch of people tied to a former Mayor Gold, and a Perone, and people with the name Perone and Kerr and Violet with the military, and a Kolvinskis with the military. Kolvinskis and Violet and some other ones said that they were intimately tied with Danielle Perone. They try to take pictures of me next to them at a park one time to pretend that they know me. And Thomas Perone and his neighbors are increasingly involved with identity theft, fraud, slanders, and with religious spots and spots next to Fox Connecticut News. They have roles with intelligence families and investigate all sides of criminal and civil cases, and the court's names were used remotely criminally at the same time. And in the World Trade Center attack, in the Ninth Circuit Court next to it. In other words, so you guys want to debate, don't change what I say. Because you guys are only capable of, in other words, don't change what I say. That's what they're doing. They're making totally fake transcripts, totally fake conversations. A whole bunch, more than one Brendan Leahy, and a whole bunch of Leahy family members, including women, have been putting predicate acts and databases between campuses of each age and with the people collusions with them. Each campus I went to from off the campuses, they're putting fake ties, fake natures of ties to people. You see them talking about social things, wasted time because they can't speak on principles of education. They can't justify it, in other words, because this is inter and intra campuses, intercities through time, the Britain Superior Court, and New Britain's Central Connecticut State University has rows of predicate acts on all sides of my house, including in the streets next to it, and on them, these impositions. But everyone has self-valued roles when you change and fake what people say. When and they get away with it relative to how they're sticking predicate acts and databases. It's recorded on Facebook too. Criminally foreign influence readings of statutes and precedents. What they say on Facebook is connected to their predicate acts or the wire crimes of the Wethersfield police, changing and faking and hiding digital evidences and tactically delusions raw. Then they take all their evidences away. Let's get them on. In other words, they switch names, forge names. You have one man with that Wethersfield police. It's interdepartments with the same house. They're also pathological. They lie, the delusions, rot, and liars regarding their descriptions of their own emotions or other people's and their motivations because they're screening their roles with a whole bunch of different countries. Increasingly, people tied to Koreans with Taekwondo places involved with the Joe DeMoro and Daryl Chandler and intelligence families were next to where the Wethersfield police are now have roles through time with town lines and shopping centers with identity theft, frauds, slanders, also with their educators involved with predicate acts with kids, overt criminal enterprises with grammar school kids and middle school kids that never even saw each other. And they're making fake exceptions and putting predicate acts in databases with conversations with teachers. This is a perfected method of keeping victims / hyper victims needing to respond to that and blaming other things, others, ourselves as collusions with the breaching method in ways that they can't defend their fact, cheap nature, quality aspects in nature as criminal insidiousness. I'm not even a lawyer. A Trantolo and Trantolo is one of the ones involved with WFSB that attached me to fake conversations with them with themselves. And they have roles with names on all sides of criminal and civil cases, interstates, at the same time, but the same sequence shifts. And with the news, same predicate acts roles. And with the court's names, forging and switching. And in the Ninth Circuit Court next to the World Trade Center. Increasingly, people involved with the Detective Samuda at Central Connecticut State University and with people on and off the campuses and all sides of it, involved intercities and intra-cities through time, recorded, and then collusions at the World Trade Center in Manhattan with the names involved, intercities and internationally. So, in other words, America is a name and Russia is a name, but we have to have peoples use these names honestly, or they're just little fakes used remotely by the breaching method, which is relative to where and to how the breaching method is of scientific value inside the communications of our founders behind James Madison and his plan. But that has been changed. And you guys have self-valued roles with use of their words. And that coupled with, the theories and the criminally foreign influence, fact, cheap nature, quality aspects of nature, and delusions of experts. And this is with the nature of the debate screening, the proper fact, cheap nature, quality aspects of nature, all kinds of medical corruption, is about all kinds of natures of organized crimes with a whole bunch of different ways. The police forms and military, foreign and domestic, our roles with the campuses, including fire and medical. Harvard Hospital has an institute of living involved with some wire and mail crime methods and refusing to get me help. Offensively, while pretending other, they already offensively pretending me to fake conversations. Increasingly, there are people with the name Kevin Dillon, Anna Dillon, whole bunch of people with real estate company and a leasing agents, like a leasing agent on an owner of a building and his family members on Covington Street in New Britain, Connecticut, and the houses next to them. They have roles with some intelligence families on my house and my street in Wethersfield through time, involved with prosecutors and judges, personally and professionally involved with sexual and medical offenders of kids, foreign and domestic. These are also KKK black themed, Confederate flag themed, right on the Facebook page of a principal upskirt nature, principal being, involved also with digital crimes and other natures of organized crimes. The house is near me, involved with retired police chiefs, a police chief Cintron, his daughter, Jessica Cintron, and they're apparently involved with people named Mazzucato. And with that corner where Mazzucato is in Rocky Hill now from years before that, increasingly there's something of Antonetta Spada recorded, capacity demonstrated, confirmed. I barely knew her. She was influenced to make fake exception of knowing me. Then she asked me for a trophy if I had a boxing trophy one time. This is after we graduated. In other words, And then years later, she told me that she gave that trophy to a Fred Grisey. I never knew she had anything to do with a Fred Grisey. And Sandra Stoddard, Antoinette Spot, and other sisters they have and a brother. I don't know them. And they make a couple of them I know, and they make fake exceptions. It has something to do with the roles with the intelligence community. And there's reportedly apparently was definitely there are probate court judges, family members, and their neighbors, and their family members, and where they work, involved with them sticking predicate acts with fax rolls and databases, and or having other people do it. And the difference of that is used also. A Joshua Stryker is also one of the ones I never had a verbal conversation with him. He's one of the ones I've been sticking predicate acts, building on ones from years before that. There are people that were in my grammar school, in my middle school that I never even saw. I don't even know them. You know, a couple of them make real quick exceptions. They're trying to pretend I don't remember things. And as it was brought up, because these are also people further that had roles forcing the principal child abuser and other natures of organized crimes and predicate acts roles that can be used to show this, like wire crime acts. Like WFSB attached me to fake conversations with themselves and with others. And they're in Rocky Hill, and intelligence next to them, increasingly ones next to the state capitol involved with identity theft, fraud, slander with their educators, a Mike Violette, a Justin Kovinskis. And in other words, it has something to do with Parker English, criminally foreign influence, tactically delusions, raw fact, human nature, quality aspects of nature, his roles with organized crimes with criminally foreign influence, uses of the military, leading up to the World Trade Center attack in that context, and since, with a whole bunch of other military, I don't know their names. I know Justin Kovinskis, Mark Violette, people with the name O'Brien, increasingly people tied to a former mayor Gold, and one next to the state education building where it is now, where there's an old a wife, I believe, of a former mayor. I don't even know his name. But they're involved also with the forcing Saudis to collusions with them, with the FBI Director Robert Luskin, his co-defendants, and their family members and neighbors, also as intercities, as ones of an intra, and as ones involved with next to the state next to the state education department. So all the subjects would be treated differently had mandated law been followed properly. See, the right to lie is a phrase used by James Comey, who is also reportedly a former director of the FBI, because the FBI is also with the Congress used remotely grouped too. And with the judicial branch used individually grouped and together. Collusion /S, then cover-ups of that. And this is used to use them remotely, show them that media. In other words, this is also relative to where and how we can observe how it's gotten away with, where and how the human fact-checking nature breaching method in the subject of the communications of James Madison and of our founders. The method by those crazy laws on everyone. It is being and has been replaced. Other things, others ourselves are blamed for things like what caused slavery. A human fact-checking nature breaching method caused slavery. And it came from some ancient times before modern religious messengers. The names of the people of the sciences. Syntax regarding them, positive or negative, was collusions, leaving out the breaching methods of remote use of them from off-all locations. And then further, on-off database identities of relativity drawn to everyone. And then further, on-off campus databases, identities of relativity to everyone drawn on top of this hyper additionally. Then modern religious messages were born. Then modern countries founders were born, but already entrenched, just like with America's founders, already entrenched with slavery against everyone, sickly distinctly, and against blacks sickly distinctly, northern colonies and southern colonies, more than 13. There was a trap, and everyone had been sustained roles with it against themselves, and themselves being the human species body of individual bodies. This breaching method forced, checked, hurt, and persuaded everyone only to remember, having been self-valued defenses of syntactical roles as systems tactical ulterior from the human species body of individual bodies, with all group differences being demonstrated a part of its communication system with us, generated by itself. That identity that is not us, it is not the other species bodies, but it is anyway. It is showing us even the fish have two eyes. They have quality aspects in nature, distinct but also non-distinct, and simultaneously, but also per that further, not us nor them, and the value of the slash. We are, in other words, and this is relative to how we can appreciate it has an identity, a relativity to itself, with the part of itself that we could observe with any subject, individually grouped or together. And then progressively, relative to this, it comes also with its part that is not, but it is anyway. And a part of itself will not juxtapose the matter. The part of all space is not and was not juxtaposed the matter. The part of all space / existence. Part is, and part is the quality of diffusion, where more and more is being made, where they're coming together, and it's making more. This is more probable and practical to theorize, let alone to convey, regarding what generated everything. Its identity of relationship to itself, and the value of that is our subject / S. I tell it best so many ways, Boxing. I forgot the name of this video. I forgot what the title of it was about. There's another word. Oh, yeah, the Board of Education. So the names have been switching names, important names. John DeMorrow had roles when I was in middle school with criminal enterprises, plural, and his roles with town lines. Even if he has roles with the military, with next to the state education department and Rocky Hill, and their roles with the, because ongoing too, they should not block posts on YouTube, and they should not have a criminally foreign influence readings of statutes regarding the validity of what is said on Facebook. The New Britain Superior Court's Facebook page has rape threat roles and other predicate acts with former director of the FBI Robert Luskin, and with people named Kerr, and with people named DeMorrow on Valleycrest, and on, I believe, Morgan Circle. And these are people on the sides of the parks that have been planting evidences with a former Mayor Gold, and the one next to the Board of Education involved with overt criminal enterprises and private ones. I believe a John DeMorrow lives down there somewhere. And so there are people on the streets of people who have been speaking in the town meetings, in the boards of education, who also have mail and wire crime roles, medicine crimes, and with unmarked police forms too. A whole bunch of things. People on off the state corrections offices and judicial offices, also next to Hartford Hospital, have roles of all kinds of natures of organized crimes with them, and police forms that use the right to lie where they don't have the right to lie. And as cover-ups of the World Trade Center attack, with more World Trade Center attack predicate acts, roles, wire crime roles, and worse. WFSB attached me to fake conversations with themselves and with others, not just about the World Trade Center. They put me in fake locations with themselves and with others. They attached me to faked and changed communications with the people around me, and increasingly about legal cases too. All sides of criminal and civil cases, and the courts have been used criminally foreign influence relative to the databases side of the breaching method since before computers too. Also, as part of answers with American history, replaced and changed. People want and need to use their knowledge of good and evil the way the breaching method knew they would. Wanted to have a nature debate. They can't afford to have, this is principle. James Madison, our founders, they had a plan to counter extort, force the rest of the founders. And then the laws were so crazy against everyone everywhere, northern colonies, southern colonies, even though we were totally different colonies, themselves divided, everyone would be in trouble. At the same time, have no means to defend themselves unless they fell back on the unity presented by James Madison, the founders behind him and his plan, which then George Washington agreed to use and to help that plan. But we're not even allowed to be honest about the extortion of George Washington. George Washington told us to be honest about his extortion. So we're going to have to start taking some punishment positions against the people involved with education. In other words, it's also their families and next to their families' houses. It's not to punish them. In other words, most of them don't need to be punished. But in other words, I forget that. No, I was going to play a game with the counter position. In other words, they're really criminally foreign impulse, tactics, delusions, wrought, theories, and convictions associated with the syntax of the names of the people of sciences. This is also relative to where and to how there are such unscientific readings of the books that are religious books, like the beginning of the Old Testament and the beginning of the Quran. Both of them come with parts that say, like the Old Testament has a part that says only defend right here, where the names of the people of the sciences will come together, and the part that comes before it. But no one even knows that. Even if they don't read the Old Testament, people that all read up on the New Testament, they don't even, all these passions and emotions about, no one even knows about that one part. And it says it, all that, only defend right here. See, everyone's defending the religious books out of sequence, and with passions and emotions defended dishonestly, as styles incapable of defending that and of affording the order of the finite or the smallest finite detail. Use the way nature communicates with this, the difference between that and its relativity to itself, where everything is itself. Even if we make something up, its particular identity of hypervolume science is inseparable from and has the value of the smallest finite detail and or as the order of the finite. And or as the order of what is active, and or as the order of what is progressive, but per nature's communications per everything. Like, for example, nature shows us we know about the identity of sciences, of seasons that are not even here. We know of their value. But now we know of them through systems tactical ulterior from its own, where it's also positive onto itself. So increasingly, people cannot afford short words with convictions proper per its method and system. Increasingly, the names that have spoken for the law are crimes, have been stayed collusion /acts with predicate acts with facts, high crimes. And then within that styles of logic, natures of logic, used remotely, because the breaching method never stopped having perfect possession over every individual group and every country's name. Any grouping of countries that comes out of locations, areas, and states as entertained styles of fact-cheating nature. They're joining organized crimes, plural roles. For example, by pretending of getting more people involved with social teaching, with their teaching skills and so on. You guys have overt criminal enterprises, private ones, and a whole bunch of countries A through Z involved with the private, where they have diplomacy, all kinds of natures of organized crime. They can't defend their net roles with the readings of laws and statutes, and afford not to self-value. Means to get away with not pretending not to realize that. and getting everyone else to. The suburbs were designed before America's founders were born, apart with the torture, extortion, and fact-cheating nature slavery method. Even with color sickly distinctly left in the States, because it was entrenched by a torture, extortion, slavery method against every single individual voice. Our founders communicated that they did not have free speech because everyone's speech was measured by the breaching method through themselves. Everyone had already been sustained collusion /S with the predicate acts with facts method leveraged against everyone. Then the same people are going to speak about crimes. They're incapable of, and they've been hiding things for a long time. With at least two retired police chiefs involved with the names Cololo and Smith, and Phil Cololo also hyper additionally, and O'Brien, and they brought up D. Simone too. These are a whole bunch of police departments with the same house /S with wire crimes of the police forging and switching names, Wethersfield Police. They have roles with the security of the schools and their family members. Also involved with the overt criminal enterprises and private ones. Concentrated roles with the family members of probate judges. See, that probate judges, they put them in elderly homes that are locked in there. In other words. And all kinds of drugs and mess and crime methods through other ones. So in other words, we have to get everything at the same time by going to the core, which really even Marines. There's a Marine, I don't know his name, with Newington, the FBI, and the Marines, and some Air Force. The Paul Kelly and his neighbors have more roles with sexual and medical offenders of kids at Hartford Hospital, with inter-services, the Eastern States Narcotics Task Force. They have roles with a whole bunch of people involved with the wire crimes of the Wethersfield Police and Whiting Forensics, with digital crimes with a Joshua Julian. Also with some KKK, Confederate flag theme, black theme, Confederate flag theme right on the Facebook page of the principal child abuser with the Joshua Julian, planting evidence on all sides of my house rolls. With the intelligence community. They'll tell you too. A whole bunch of people tied to Eric Jensen. He'll tell you too. People tied to the former director of the FBI, Robert Lushkin, his co-defendants, and their family members, like a Dawn LaConch. I never saw her on the inside of school in my life. She's involved with all kinds of natures of, the people involved with the educational department and with the agencies, with the kids, at the same time with overt criminal enterprises. And they're building on predicate acts, fake delusions they're sticking in the databases. And they're needing to pretend they didn't realize we were trying to teach social. Get down! Get them on paper, one name in secret. I'll show you how to teach social. Yeah.